To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
What's up, Chris Carter? Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Calm down over there.
All right.
Jeez.
I had to adjust my headphones.
Man. Shannon Nordstrom is not here this week to answer your automotive questions. I'm here to answer your calls. I'm Chris Carter, 866-594-4150. Before we get to the calls, we got some calls lined up. Shannon's not here today, so we have extra time. If you want to call, it's a good time to call. We got one less person.
If you want to talk about him, you can do it.
Yep. We got a third more time to fill.
He won't come back and listen to the podcast.
My topic of discussion today was construction.
Construction. Oh.
It's fine. I don't get super upset about it, but it did delay me in 3 different spots on my way to the studio today.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because construction too was on my mind. Not that it really bothered me or concerned me any, but coming home last night in that same construction you were in, and then out of the construction, I don't know what's happening to people. I think it's the looky-loo syndrome. 6 accidents.
Oh.
But out of all those accidents, the weirdest thing was, so we've got this section going on where we've got a 4-lane highway, 2 on one side, 2 on the other. And in part of our world here, they're rebuilding a giant intersection, basically. So they've got all the traffic shifted over to, you're headed straight onto 2 of those lanes.
Yep.
2 of these accidents were on the closed side. So people had driven through the median, got onto the closed side. You know what I'm talking about? Where they were trucking along. And because it's happening so often, the highway patrol is waiting. If you're driving on that closed side, you're going to get a ticket. So these people are driving. Both of them were major rear enders.
Yikes.
On that side. And then the police had some people stop later on down the road. So we're driving in the clear lanes. I'm like, why are we going 20 miles an hour? And then you get up to the accident, which is not even on that road. It's next to it, like 80 feet away. And then all of a sudden the traffic's full speed again, 60 miles an hour. You're like, what's going on? People were just looking.
Sure.
Which caused another couple accidents, and then down the road more. I looked too, but I kept going. I didn't slow down.
I start now looking for, when I get into construction, I worry about dust. When I'm in my Pontiac, I think, it's going to get
your car all dusty.
Or me, because the top's down. I don't need this.
Why can't they make a wax that's good enough that just repels dust?
Yeah.
Because when you wax a car, for me, every time I've waxed a car, even when I've tried what they say is the best, it just sticks to your car. You can't get that thing off. I find myself also, when I see dust coming up, I reach over and I turn my air conditioner to max.
To keep it recirculating instead of
right,
outdoor,
because the 2 vehicles I'm driving do not have cabin air filters. They're not made for them. So that dust comes right in your car. With a cabin air filter, at least it filters it.
Sure.
Like your Pontiac, no. So you just...
Well, and I'm with the top down and the windows down, there's nothing I can do.
No, but if you got a car, you flip that thing over to max if you've got an old one without a cabin air filter.
Or just hit off quick.
Yeah, that'll
work.
Yeah.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Kentucky first and talk to Michael. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Michael, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. So I'm basically inheriting a vehicle. It's a 2013 Silverado 1500. And it's got I think it's like 99,000 miles. I mean, it's just right at 100,000. And, of course, I'm going to bring it home, and I'm going to use it as a work truck because it's a farm truck is what it was used for. And I want to go through it, and just start over with all the maintenance on it. And I know that the old 4L60 transmission they used to have, I've always had Ford trucks, so I'm not as familiar. But I've just heard horror stories of changing the fluid out in the transmission in the older Chevrolet trucks and then burning up the transmission. Is that still an issue with newer, I guess it's a 6L80 that they have in that model year or whatever. Do I need to worry about changing the transmission fluid? Question.
It just depends on the condition of that fluid. So with any vehicle, any year, any time, that train of thought holds true. So if you've got one with burnt fluid that is dark, black, smells burnt, you can just say, "Ooh, that thing like something way overcooked." Yeah, if you change that, you do run the risk of a problem. But also, let's say I take a brand new transmission and I just sit in the driveway, I put it in park or in drive, I sit in the driveway with my foot on the brake and the gas at about 1500 RPM and just hold it there until I get it so hot that I've got a gauge on it, let's say, and the gauge is reading 270 degrees. Now I've got it hot, and I shut it off. I pull the stick out, that fluid is black. But what I did to cause it was I got the torque converter, I slipped that, and it's metal, and I got it so hot that I burnt the fluid. Now, if I flush that out, will it hurt it? No, it's actually going to protect it because I'm removing that old fluid and putting in fluid that can now lubricate the moving parts of the transmission. I just oxidized it because I got it really hot. So for some people, if they've driven it and got it hot enough to oxidize the fluid, it can no longer protect like it used to, and it needs to be changed. But in other cases, they've just driven it so long that the clutches have started to slip and burnt everything up. And now you've got all this friction material in the transmission. And if you remove it by flushing it, you run the risk of it slipping. So we tell people, if you're going to flush it, you got about a 50-50 chance. You're either going to help protect the transmission or this thing could stop moving. So if you want to take that chance and try to save it, you can do it. And we base it on a case-by-case thing. But with this F-150...
10 years old, 100,000 miles.
Yeah, it's
super
1,500.
1,500. Silverado 1,500.
Yeah.
1,500. I'm just not familiar with the DM transmissions. I've heard, my buddies having, just spend several $1,000s to replace theirs.
Yeah. On a 13 Silverado, yes, we do some transmissions in those, but not nearly as many as the newer ones, like the 14 and 15 and up. We've had a lot of problems with those up to about 2019. But on a Silverado or an F-150 on that year range, about 100,000 miles, anywhere from 80 to 100 is where we like to change them because the fluid is getting pretty dark, but it's not so bad it's burnt. Unless it's been way over towed and you're having issues with it already slipping, it has been. I think the heaviest thing that's ever been put, it's ever done in its life has had some sweet feed for some calves thrown in the bed of it, and that's about it. Okay, then you're probably fine. I'd say flush it because.
But you would check it for burnt.
Yeah, see how burnt it is. If it's
if it holds a dipstick and it smells good, still has a red color to it, change it and go ahead and service it.
Yeah, if it's reddish brown, go ahead and service it. But if it's black and you can't see through it, it's so black, then it's time to just start saving your money and wait.
Let it go and see.
Wait until it starts to slip. Yeah, and by all means, if you drive that thing for a few months and it doesn't slip a bit, but it's completely black, maybe give it a shot and see what happens. But because of that year, I'm not too worried about it. But if you've got, for anybody listening that's got like a 2008 to 2013 F-150 or Silverado, especially the F-150s, make sure you're changing that in that 70 to 80,000 mile range because there's a fine line where they go from just being a little burnt to we've got damage, and put a lot of transmissions in the F-150s compared to a few in the Silverados.
Michael, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Randall in Kansas. Randall, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Well, I've got a 94 Taurus, and I had been having some minor electrical lighting issues with it, but nothing that I thought was creating any problems. I had a chance to replace the stereo that had died in it, and I had to go to another town to pick it up, and he installed it for me. And when I got on the interstate and went to drive home, I couldn't get it at about 30 miles an hour. I just didn't have any acceleration. I pulled over, and if I waited a little bit, I'd start out, and at the slower range, it wouldn't kick out of working. I got it. I managed to sneak home or get home driving 30 miles an hour on a regular highway instead of the interstate, and couldn't find anybody that wanted to work on it because they said it'd be a waste of time and money because there were no parts available. What do I do?
Well, one, as far as the running wise of that car, engine, transmission, almost every single part on the engine, wheel bearings, brakes, tires, struts, I don't believe there's anything that I cannot buy for that car to make it run. There may be a part, let's say it needed an engine computer. If that was not available new, and I haven't tried to buy one of those in 10 years new, I know that I personally have at least 5 or 6 of them here in our stock as far as used. So I would not be concerned one bit about that. I think, so what I'm seeing, shops in general, including my own in some situations, we may say to somebody, now this car we'd work on, but there are some, let's say this was a 94 Mitsubishi Eclipse, I would just tell the customer, I'm not interested in working on this because I know it's going to be something that might be a little more difficult. The majority of our people are not trained on that car because they're younger. They just haven't worked on it. So I'm just not going to spend the time and say, it's not something I'm interested in working on. I'm not going to say I can't get parts. I'm just going to say, it's not for us. And I'll try to send you somewhere that would still work on one of that vintage. But now with your Taurus, I have worked on 92, 93, 491 Tauruses lately, and we fixed them. If you've got a problem with a running issue and it needs a fuel pump, we can call any auto parts store and get a fuel pump now. It's on the shelf in stock. If we need transmission repair, everything's available. An ignition module, I'm thinking of things on your car that might be an issue. Mass airflow sensor causing an issue with it not accelerating. We have that stuff's in stock, all that. And that car, I would say that 1996 is very similar to 2003. I mean, it's very, or 94
now, mine's
Taurus.
a 94.
Yeah, the 94 is very similar to let's just go all the way up to 06. It's going to be very similar in its electronics and the way it works. It's not that much different. You've got spark plug wires on an old one compared to a new one without a little different ignition system. But the car, it's still just a basic good car that's very simple to work. Even if you're a mechanic that's never worked on one, that would be a dream. It's not, the learning curve on it's super small. You're still looking at the same thing. Do I have fuel pressure? Is the ignition timing correct? Some basic things. But I think you had a coincidence that you had the radio worked on and all of a sudden it didn't work. That's just a coincidence. But if it wouldn't accelerate, I'm going to be looking at things, I don't know if it's not shifting or anything like that. But with what you're describing, if that car has not had a fuel filter on it in a long time, I would definitely put one on it, because that is one of the things. These cars would come into our shop, the Taurus all the way up to about 96 when they started switching to no fuel filters and they just went to a filter built into the pump. They would accumulate dirt in the fuel filter, and all of a sudden one day people say, hey, it just doesn't want to accelerate. I give it gas and it's sluggish and it won't shift gears until I let off the accelerator, and then it'll shift and I can give it just a tiny amount and gain some speed. But if I try to give it too much, it just falls on its face. And it was starving for fuel. So something as simple as that, I would try that. Look at your air filter, look at that fuel filter, and make sure they're clean. And, well, if it hadn't had one on it, just put it on. A fuel filter is going to be pretty cheap, as long as they can get it off the car, if it's not rusted on solid. I would definitely go for that.
Now, it's only got like 70,000 miles on it when this happened. And I haven't put in a lot of miles on it since, needless to say.
Is it clean? Is it not rusted?
No. This vehicle was in excellent condition. Other than, like I said, I'd started to have a little bit of problems with the interior lighting not wanting to go off. Other than that, there hadn't been any problems with it. It was my mother's car originally, and the Ford garage took advantage of her, and they did excessive maintenance as far as filters, oil changes, transmission change, fluid changed, and all that. But the Ford garage told me they couldn't get any parts to work on that transmission, and 2 other transmission shops told me that, it's not, I can't get parts, so I couldn't fix it.
Well, I know
it's not that
they still build them.
To.
Yeah, they're in this area. I know for a fact they still build those, and there are parts still available to completely rebuild that transmission. Now, some transmission rebuilders, the major ones that sell the whole unit ready to go, they don't sell them anymore. And there are quite a few transmission shops now that they no longer build their own transmissions. They only stock a replacement ready to go on the shelf, and they're a remove it, put it in. Now, there's hundreds or maybe even thousands that still do their own rebuilding, but a lot of them have switched to the buy one ready to go because it's easier for them, because they just don't have the employees to do the rebuilding internally like they used to, and they've got to keep the doors open.
Understandable.
In fact, we do some repairs on transmissions, but we also put in many more that are already complete, ready to go, and we just send the core back. But those parts are available for that car, and if they did really good maintenance on it with that low miles, that would still be a dream car to get and be repaired. I think you just would probably need to look around a little more at shops, or ask people, hey, have you ever had a car repaired lately? Who do you go to? And are they pretty good? Do they work with you, or do they just kind of snub you off and say, well, we'll try to fix it? I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, that's really all business now. Everybody's got to be pretty much the same price because there's so many places to go now. But the attitude of the place you're going to, and how they take care of you, and how they treat you when there's a problem that comes up, that's what sets the shops apart now, because everybody can buy off of Amazon or anywhere out there, or any auto parts store. But how does that parts store take care of you? That's the main thing. And it sounds like, if you don't want to work on a car, do like I do. I just say, I'm sorry, I don't want to work on that. I'm not going to try to make an excuse and say, it's too old, we don't have parts. I don't want to work on it. That's not something we work on any longer. And we have a few of those that come up.
Yeah. I'm in Kansas, and
sure,
in one of the middle-sized cities, but I've talked to the 2 of the people I went to were the best non-factory, non-dealership.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I don't understand why you're saying there's parts and they said there wasn't, because they still have their good transmission work people that actually tear down and rebuild transmissions.
Yeah, in fact, where you're at, Kansas is one of the places that have one of the bigger transmission rebuilder places. But yeah, I don't know why they would tell you that, because Is there
anything special about this car that could be?
And there's a few parts in that transmission that they may not have available any longer from their suppliers, but I know they're still available. That's still a very popular car when you get into the areas of the country that don't have a lot of rust. I mean, they're still running those back to like 80, 88. Yeah. It's popular. I think you might just need to call around or even ask them, are there any other builders? Because I've had these in my shop. Now, the other option for that is there are still a ton of good certified used transmissions out there that will have a good warranty on them. You can go to our partner at Car-Part and find, I would say, no less than 500 of those transmissions ready to sell across the country. And if you sort by area, just sort by Kansas, put in your zip code, transmission 94 Ford Taurus, you're going to see a bunch of them. I bet there are at least 5 of them within 20 miles of your area.
Ooh, we got a challenge here.
Oh, yeah.
Randall, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That sounds like a frustrating problem. So we help you get that worked out. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Michael Rollins, congratulations for our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu. And our friends over at BerkeleyOneClassics.com, celebrating 50 years. Berkeley One Classics. Cool. You go to BerkeleyOneClassics.com and get a free quote there. And if you're thinking about getting into cars, building cars, I tell you what, Universal Technical Institute, the training they offer is second to none. If you go to uti.edu, you will be able to if you get into the classes, you'll be able to get trained for just about anything automotive. And you learn about all of them, classics, current, future cars, everything down the line. They're very well versed in everything they do. Check them out, uti.edu.
866-594-4150. Randall, you had a second question?
Yes. I think I mentioned that I had a stereo installed, different one.
Yeah.
And had been having some minor electrical problems with some lights in the vehicle, not wanting to shut off. Are there any electrical sensors in the transmission that new stereo might have created a problem with a short or something?
Not a one. You could tie all the wires together on the radio, melt all the wiring, and blow the fuses and not affect that transmission. But your door lights staying on, super common problem on every Ford model ever made in that era. They have 2 switches in every door latch, for a door ajar and for a dome light, and it can also run your vehicle security. Those switches were designed in a way that they would catch dirt and the grease would build up and stick the switch, and the light would stay on till you'd reach about 30 miles an hour. Then they'd shut off for safety, and then they'd come back on when you slow down. And that was a failure point of the car. So I would say if you had a car that the dome light stayed on and it was a Ford built in this era, I'd say, we can fix it, bring it in. It's a dome light switch. But one thing that can be related, if you've got a dome light that sticks on and you were to call me and say, hey, Russ, I'm driving my car, my dome lights used to shut off when I'd hit about 30 miles an hour. Then they'd come back on. They've been doing that for a couple years now. So I just kind of ignored it and got used to it. But now my transmission doesn't shift. Oh, and one more thing. The dome lights don't shut off when I hit 30 miles an hour anymore. I'd say, I bet you have a speed sensor that's gone bad in the transmission. And that's why it doesn't shift. And also why the body control module doesn't know you're going 30 miles an hour and the dome lights aren't shutting off anymore. So that's one way we kind of diagnose that when it comes in. But I would say you probably just got bad door switches in one of the doors. And if you've got a car with that low of miles, only probably had the driver's door ever opened, it's probably the driver's door that's stuck and causing that to go out. But it's as simple as pulling the door panel off and unplugging the switch and see if the light goes off. And then the switch just turns a quarter turn and pops out. You put them in, I think they're about $12 each. They're pretty cheap.
Randall, thanks very much for the call. That was actually the very first problem I ever talked to you guys about before I was hosting the show.
Oh, on the Windstar?
I called the show on my Windstar, and it was doing that exact thing.
Oh, I wish I had that phone call. I probably do.
I think we do. I think we held on to it. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to New Hampshire and talk to Josh. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Josh, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. Just calling back again. You had helped me out with my Gladiator a couple times, so I'm calling about my daughter's 2007 Jeep Grand Cherokee. She just let me know the other day that when she goes to get fuel, she can't pull the handle all the way, otherwise it clicks off. So obviously listening to you guys on the show, I have ordered a vapor canister and a new purge valve, but is there anything else that I should be looking at before I just go ahead and replace those?
Canister and vent valve in the back. The vent valve, it may come with a canister. You'll have to look at the description real close, or if you see in the picture that it has an electrical connector on it, it's attached. But the vent valve back there it has to vent when you filling it. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So we look at that, replace that, but just physically look at the hoses and see if there's any damage to them. Something's hit it and kinked a line. If nobody's worked on it back there, even if they have, it's super hard to get that in a kinked position the way they run them. So I'd say it's unlikely that it's got any damage to it unless you see physical damage where it's run off road and hit something. We see all sorts of crazy stuff, but I would say probably not. It's probably just the canister is clogged and that vent valve back there has got dirt in it, and by replacing them, you're probably going to fix your issue. The other issue that causes is that if you do get it filled with fuel, when you try to start it, it'll flood itself out, and it's harder to start right after fueling, and then it clears out and it's fine until you refuel it again.
Josh, I have a question for you. If this were your Jeep, would you just fill it on the lowest level, or would you fix the canister versus your daughter's Jeep?
I'd probably just fill it on the lowest level.
Yeah. And if it were my son's Jeep, I'd just tell him, yeah, you broke it. Fill it on the lowest level. I can't help you. But for some reason, thanks very much for the call, Josh. For some reason, we do way more stuff for our daughters than ourselves or our sons. I mean, and
grandkids, even worse. Just had my grandson said, Grandpa, my brakes are grinding. But you know why? He's in another state. And you know why I bought him brakes for his vehicle? Because he said, can you help me out with this? I'll pay you back on Friday. He said, I'll pay you back. But I have somebody else I know.
And you said, don't worry about it.
Oh, yeah. I have somebody else I know that in our shop, and they always insist that Grandpa pays for it. Oh, just call him. He'll fix it up. He'll pay for it. I'm like, no. If you just said, please, they would do it every time.
Absolutely.
But they're getting a little bothered when you say, oh, just send him the bill.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Keith in Virginia. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Keith, what can we do for you?
Yes, good morning, gentlemen. I appreciate you taking my call. I'm a little bit at my wit's end. I've got a 2021 Chevy Silverado, light duty with the Duramax, the 3-liter.
Oh.
And I've loved it. I bought it brand new. And unfortunately, just in the last couple weeks, it started running hotter. It consistently was at 210 degrees for the last 2.5 years. Very little fluctuation once it warmed up. But now under higher RPMs, I mean, not high, but higher, 1,500, 1,600, any pull on the engine, AC, towing, light towing, it'll start running up to 235, 240.
Ooh.
And it even the other day at 57 degrees outside temperature, air temperature, it came on and said shutting air conditioner off due to high engine temperature.
Yeah, don't do that.
The problem I have besides that is that when I've taken it to 3 dealers and a diesel mechanic, all of them say they won't look at it unless it's through a trouble code. And it's clean. Every one of them ran the trouble codes. There's no history. There's no trouble codes, nothing. And so they just said, well, we could spend a lot of time and waste a lot of money and not find anything. They said, it's just your word against the trouble codes. I said, I've got pictures of it. I can tell you it's happening. So I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm being left out, and I'm concerned about the engine, quite frankly.
Well, we've talked about this more and more, and Chris is like, oh, yeah, it's coming up.
Is there any chance
There's so many shops that just don't.
It's just saying that and not happening?
Well, that the gauge is wrong?
Yeah.
Yes. There is a possibility that the vehicle is not that hot, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's not that often that we see one of these get hot. So if I was trying to diagnose this myself, I would have a temperature probe on the engine. Now, you could buy one if you wanted to. You could get on. Now, this is something you're not going to be able to find at the auto parts store typically. So you'd have to get on Amazon, get yourself a temperature probe. here's one thing you could do that you might already own. Like myself, I barbecue a lot. I have a temperature probe it's a remote one, so it's out on the grill, and in the house it tells me the temp. You got one, Chris? A lot of people have those.
Not yet.
Okay.
Need one.
I think I paid $30 for mine.
I gotta get one.
I've used one. This one has 4 channels. You can do 4 pieces of meat at once or 4 things on the grill. So I open the hood, and that the upper radiator hose where the coolant's coming out of the engine, the hottest point, if you get yourself a hose clamp and you strap that temperature probe right to the metal of that water outlet, and then you leave the probe under the hood while you're driving it.
Shut up.
Yeah,
are you serious?
I'll shut up. Okay, so then you read the probe inside, and if that gauge says 240, but yet your probe inside says 210, oh, the car's lying to you. And then you probably need either a sending unit and the wire pigtail or something else like that. More than likely a sending unit.
And if it were reading it wrong, if it read it that high,
what you want.
It would send that message that it was shutting off air conditioning.
If the computer sees boom, it's going to shut it down. But if it's lying to the computer, then it's still going to shut it down.
Right.
But you don't want it to be overheating. You want it to be a bad sensor. Now, that's how we would diagnose it with the old barbecue probe. Because I don't have a probe that long that I can't. I mean, I have to be pointing at it with my laser pointer, which you have one of those, Chris, under the hood.
You're darn right I do.
Yeah. So, because they're fun. But that's the way we would do it. So that's how you're going to find out at home, and it's going to cost you like $30, $40 for this thing. And then you can wipe it off and you can use it for food. It's great.
Wipe it off really good.
Yeah. I bet it'll be fine. It doesn't hurt you. I eat grease all the time. It's delicious.
So putting the brisket on the engine is not what you're recommending,
Well,
right?
it'll
Depends.
cook it, but you don't want to eat it.
If it's getting that hot, it will be fine.
Yeah, you want to get it thoroughly temp, maybe about 145 inside, somewhere right in that area. You know, nice crust, burnt ends. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that's what you need to do to find out. But also, I want you to look under the hood between the radiator and the air conditioning condenser, specifically in between the two, and in front of it, and see if there's a coating of dust. If there's a light coating of, it looks like fur in there because it's collected dust, that is enough that under loads, it will overheat just a little bit, but a little bit is bad on these engines.
And then you said it's between the radiator and the AC condenser. Is it a hose or
no,
is it a wire?
It's dirt. It's just dirt that builds up on the whole front of whole front of the radiator. You'll see a film of dirt, and it comes from cottonwood tree fuzz coming down, dust, dirt, road grime. Yeah. It just clogs it up, and I've seen so many that we rinse out with a garden hose, and the engine's perfectly fine. A lot of times you can spray from the engine side of the radiator towards the front. Just put your thumb over the end of the garden hose and spray through there. And if you see dirt run out of there, it's clogged, and you got to pull the plastic cover off the top, take the top 2 bolts out of the radiator, and just push it back enough where you can rinse that out really good. That may be your whole problem there. So there's 2 things. One, I'd like to say, shops, including mine, I won't work on these engines because they're an extreme pain, and General Motors has been very poor in their helping of people like us that are not at a GM dealership with the tech advice we need for certain things. They've just changed a lot of their stuff. Their programming has changed. A lot of stuff has changed lately, and it's been because there's just not as many employees at these companies as there used to be, so that type of service is just not as good as what we've had. We've got some specific examples that are really bad that a lot of shops and friends of mine have had with them. The other thing is this engine, this Duramax, since it came out, the big one's awesome, but this small one has been a big pain to work on. And anytime one of these is out of warranty in our area, most places will not work on one. We've got a lot of dealerships that really don't like them, and that goes for the Chrysler, the small Chrysler, Dodge, diesel as well. That Jeep engine, nope, it's like not going to do it. They're expensive. They can be a problem. But now in other countries, they love these things where they design these small engines. They think they're great, and they have no problem, and everybody knows them. But you're going to find that when you go to get this work done, you're going to have a lot of places that make all sorts of excuses to not have it in their shop. But I think what you're experiencing with overheats on these, the only thing I've seen overheat these in your description is because the radiator's clogged, or you've got some dirt on the outside or the inside. Thermostats, not so much. Those are an always overheat type of thing, where they'd overheat at both idle speeds and down the road. Because if it's stuck closed, it's going to overheat. It's not going to be just partially overheated. So those are things that you gotta think about. Now, it wouldn't hurt to put, if you clean out that radiator, it still wouldn't hurt to put a thermostat in it. Our partner at Motorrad makes thermostats, and if you get their premium thermostats, they do fail they're fail safe, so they fail in the open position. So if they get hot, they will just stick open all the time in your engine around cooler, and that's what you want. So I would start with some cooling system maintenance. It's only a 21. It's still pretty new.
Keith, thanks very much for the call. Good luck.
A lot of stuff there.
I have another $1 million idea.
Okay.
We have to invent a product. You know, when you drop when you get just a drop of antifreeze and it stinks up.
Oh, yeah.
Or
Shannon smells it in Spain.
Yeah. Barbecue.
Barbecue.
We got to get like a barbecue sauce we can drip on the engine.
You pour it in the radiator, and when you have a radiator leak, it smells like barbecue.
Yeah, it smells distinctive but good.
Yeah.
This one's a good idea.
Oh, you smell that brisket? Radiator's leaking again.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. I got to quick text my wife and tell her I got to get one of those temperature thermometers, the Wi-Fi ones.
Yeah, make sure you get the one with the multiple channels.
Yeah, heck
the 4-channel is great, because for me, it's like you got chicken here, you've got pork loin here, you got potatoes, and you want to know.
We have to, because we have more than one car. So this is the one I need. I need the multiple temperature gauges.
The multiple, so I've used them for the inlet temperature on the bottom coming into the water pump, and also the outlet on the top. And that tells me if that radiator, let's say it's going from 225 at the top to 160 at the bottom, radiator's good. But if it's 225 at the top and 200 at the bottom, I'm like, yeah, that's maybe not working like it should. If the fans are running.
Can I use one of them on the car and one on the brisket at the same time?
If you're cooking you got like a pickup and you got the brisket going in the back,
all right,
you could run one back there and you could just label them brisket.
Jason on the chat says, talking about briskets making him hungry. Yeah, totally. This is the first time I haven't wanted a different car on the show. I want a brisket. I want to go smoke a brisket.
Can we get Shannon? Would you think it'd be okay if I had him build a patio?
Just right off the studio here. We're on
right
the second
out the
floor.
Window, and it's high enough. We could build a deck. We could put a smoker out there. It's like, we got to check on the brisket. I'm looking at my thing right here. A little thing. It says right there, briskets at 121.
We got to do that.
We're getting there.
He's gone for a couple weeks. Let's do it while he's gone. It'll be a surprise.
If we did that, it'd be as big a surprise as new black marks on his brand new blacktop.
We got to... I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk to Chad. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Chad, what can we do for you?
Well, it must be a temperature overheating type of a day. I've got the same issue.
It is the season.
I got a 25. I know, right? We just bought my daughter. She's 23, going to get married in the 1st of June, and she bought her first car. Well, she saved up some money. It's not an expensive car, but she bought a 2015 Jeep Patriot with a 2-liter, 145,000 miles. She took it out on the interstate last Saturday when it was about 80-some degrees out. Air conditioner on. She gets a low-pressure tire gauge, so she pulls over, checks it, tires are good, takes off, ends up with an exclamation idiot light, calls, of course, me, and then I do what everybody does these days is Google what's an exclamation mark on a Jeep Patriot, and it says it's a hot transmission. So I said, pull over, put it in neutral, put it in park, turn your heater on full blast, and wait for the light to go out. Okay, she did that successfully. She pulls back out onto the interstate, and it proceeds to do this for 6 more times over a 2.5-hour trip. She gets home, heads back to Sioux Falls, and doesn't do it as often, just a few more times. And I'm like, well, we're going to have to check it out. Antifreeze was not low. I think we put like less than 6 or 8 ounces in the antifreeze. It does have the CVT transmission. So what in the heck is it? And I did bring it to a transmission shop. They said, hey, it's running at 152 degrees. Things are great. They're great, huh? Yep, they're good.
No.
I
know what's going on here.
Why.
I know what's going on here. I've seen this at least 50 times in the last 2 years. So
nice.
if you call me and say I've got a hot transmission light in one of these vehicles, I'm going to look at the fluid, and then more than likely, I'm going to change the fluid, and I'm going to put a new transmission cooler on this vehicle and make sure everything is nice and clean in that cooler system. And if it's got a thermostat still in the transmission cooler system, I'm taking it out because the thermostat will stick or the cooler will become clogged and this transmission will overheat. It's fine in the winter. And then when you start getting into the spring and early summer, like this time of year, it'll be fine unless you're on a longer trip. The longer the trip, it'll do it. And it'll do it more often. Every time you stop, it's going to get worse every time. But it will burn up that transmission. I've had so many of them that people come in. Usually when I get a transmission replacement on one of these, they will say, well, yeah, it's been showing overheat for the last 2 years if I go on a long trip, and now it just finally won't move. How could I have fixed that? Well, you could have replaced the cooler and put new fluid in it the very first time it did it, and then it'd probably still be working just fine. Most every one of these we put a transmission in, the cooler, when we try to blow air through it, it's just almost non-existent. It's just nothing's going through it. So I would get that thing, no matter what, even if you have to put a transmission in it, it's going to need that cooler and that thermostat removed. So get it put in, they drain and refill that transmission. It's not a flush, but drain and refill it. And I'll bet the problem's probably going to go away.
Give me an estimate on that.
I want to say the last, maybe $600 it was. The last one I did, that was a cooler and removing the thermostat. And
for the cost of the job, for Chad.
The whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we were doing. Now the transmission, going with the used, probably $3,300 with the cooler. New, $5,000. So we're doing a ton of used in these.
Yeah.
But I think you could still save it. If it still drives perfectly fine now, if you can go out and drive it 10, 20 miles right now on a cooler morning and it doesn't do it, it's still savable.
Okay.
But if you drive 3 or 4 miles and it does it, yeah, it's probably too late.
The sooner it does it again, the worse
it is. But now if you know you can go drive around town, go to school, shift's fine. Yeah, I'm thinking get the cooler replaced. It's not staying cool.
And it's something that could have been an issue previously, but wasn't pushed off on them. It just wasn't an issue at the...
Well, they may never have taken it on the highway.
Yeah,
this problem may have started at 80,000, which is where we normally see it.
Chad, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. All right, that'll do it for Hour 1 of the Under the Hood Show. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturtevant's. Hour 2 is coming up.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Hey, thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is not here this week, so we got an extra third of time to take your calls at 866-594-4150. I'm Chris Carter. I'll be answering those calls. And we have a question on the chat.
All right.
Let me run this past you. I'm looking for advice on preventive maintenance for a 2013 Ford Escape all-wheel drive with a 2.0 EcoBoost and 101,000 miles. That's from JS. 2013 Ford Escape all-wheel drive, EcoBoost, 100,000 miles. Preventive.
That 2-liter, I can't remember how. Got so many of them that hit me. So if you got any car that ever has a timing belt, it's got to be done. Period. They will break and kill your engine. Cars with timing chains, not so much. As long as the oil has been maintained regularly, you are looking at a lifetime change. As long as if the engine's going to go 300,000, the chain should as well. But with lack of oil changes, they can start getting rattly, and you have to replace the chain and the guides, the tensioners, and all that.
I've done that.
Yeah, you did. And I just did one in a car an engine just like yours the other day. Pulled it apart, replaced it, and it sounded beautiful. It's quiet again. And now that thing will probably go another 100,000 before it gets gummed up. They just don't change their oil. Yours, may not have as frequent oil changes, but they're long trips. They get hot, so it doesn't do near what, like this one I worked on, mile trips, several days a week, just a mile. That's horrible for an engine. Transmission fluid, drain and fill on those. They're not a flush. You're overdue at 100,000. Should have been more like 60 on that, 60, 65, 70 at the most.
Which may have been done. But
it may have been
maybe
done.
if he got it at 90,000 miles, but still maybe do it again.
It's time now. Yeah,
you don't
sure.
want to miss on it.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Get it done. You haven't spent the money to do it, so it's new for you. Let's get it done. Change that transmission fluid. Make sure the differential is not leaking and that the transfer case is not leaking. If it is leaking, if you don't keep it full, it's going to destroy it, and there's no really repair to it. They just leak, but they're so small that they leak a cup of fluid. They're done because they're empty. They've got enough in it to basically keep the parts wet and keep them from failing. That's all it does in there. We've repaired a lot of them, but they're a good vehicle. Otherwise, they do last a long time. Make sure you keep your air filters clean and things like that. Cabin air filter inside, and then as things fail, keep on top of them. Keep them addressed, because if you don't, they lead to bigger problems. And
we had a similar situation with, there's an engine that we bought, a car that we bought with a problematic engine with the timing belt. But you said, and this was the 2.0 turbo Volkswagen, and you had one come in and you knew that the timing belt had not been changed. So you were like, I am 100% confident in this car because we know that the belt has not been changed. We're going to do it. Mm-hmm. And then we are back to normal, and there's no question, there's no problem with this engine.
And it was a super low mile car. Mm-hmm. And therefore it told me it's never been changed. I looked at our Carfax history report on maintenance, because our Carfax shop, not collisions, and it said, don't see it in there anywhere. Sure enough, we took that belt off. It was the original VW belt, and it had cracks in it. It was so old, and usually we don't see belts crack anymore. They just get old and chalky. But this one, it was old.
And so if we would have bought it unbeknownst and not changed it, we would have been in real trouble.
You would have put an engine in it by now.
We would have been one of those people who are victims of that engine having that issue.
Yeah, for sure. So you've got to keep on top. Anything with the timing, but if you don't know what your car has in it, ask your mechanic. And
they might be able to
hope and pray he gets it right.
Yeah.
And there are some people who just go, oh yeah, that definitely. Because there's sometimes where, even though we work on thousands of cars, like, wait a second, which one do you have? Does it have a belt? Does it have a chain? I'm like, oh yeah. And it's like, when you can't remember somebody's name, you get to that age and you're like, and we're not that old, but what was it? I can't remember. And then when you, oh yeah, now I remember everything about it. Same thing with some engines. It's like, I can't remember which engine. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. We remember. I could tell you every nut and bolt in that engine now, but for a minute there, I'm kind of stuck and don't know which. I'm not placing it.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. What's caught your attention in the automotive world?
So there's been a lot of chatter lately about the Pontiac thing. We're seeing ads. There's been at least 3 different ones, but the big one was the car and driver one that was in the back, and it said, let's make some noise, and it has a Pontiac thing. You're thinking, oh, whoa, what's this? Is this an ad from Pontiac trying to gauge people's thoughts of, do we want to bring it back? Which would be perfect, wouldn't it? You place ads, you even put them on TV. Mm-hmm. Maybe you put them in the Super Bowl, and you put a shadowed out picture of, maybe it's a Trans Am, you don't know, with some smoke, and you're like, could it be? And you're like, oh, what is it? But in this case, it's not real.
It was an April Fool's.
It's not from
Right.
Pontiac. They didn't put it out there as far as we know. We don't know for a fact if it was somebody with some money that said, I'm just going to take out an ad and stir the pot, or if it was Car and Driver that did it.
It was that in
we
that
do know
case,
it's expensive to put that.
in that
ad.
case, in the Car and Driver, it was not real. It says it on the
Yeah.
bottom.
Oh, it was definitely not
Yeah.
real. So,
But they did say, and I wish Shannon were here because I want to argue with him. One of the things, and I wrote, what's funny is I have a notepad right here, and I wrote a note to bring up on the show. Do we know anyone at General Motors? Because I want to call them and say, hey, listen,
we do.
you should bring Pontiac back. You still see Pontiacs on the road.
Oh, yeah.
And they look great. And that ad, it was funny because that ad says, you all made fun of the Aztec, and now all of the cars look like Aztecs.
That's
the
true.
Aztec and the Vibe were so far ahead of their time, people thought they were weird looking. And I know Shannon would say, they're not exact. No, they're not exact. But all the
shapes
cars
are very
nowadays
similar. The side
look
windows
like
and-
Aztecs and Vibes. Even, because now they're even, the SUVs and crossovers are downsizing to the size of Vibes. All they're making is...
Oh, yeah.
They're making cars. They're just making them, they're calling them crossovers and SUVs and saying, look, it's not a car, it's an SUV, which is what the Vibe was. I mean, the Vibe was a hatchback. That's what they're making. They're making hatchbacks. They just don't call them hatchbacks anymore.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a fake, but let's say somebody
people
throws an ad out there. Yeah.
People were like, all right, sweet.
You want to get General Motors' attention? You put a fake ad out there, and you get millions of people to respond to it. And then they go, well, you know what? What if we place an ad? So it could happen. So keep your eyes open. But how would you like to see it come back? I tell you what, if I see a Pontiac come back like they did with Chevy, and they said, when I heard the new Nova was out in the 80s, and I was, oh, great, the Nova came back. And I went and I saw this front-wheel drive thing. I was like, no, don't bring a Pontiac Grand Am back and make it a four-cylinder.
I've said for years that they should just bring back the Pontiac Trans Am as a trim level on the Camaro.
They could easily. Because they're making
people
kits.
are doing it.
Yeah, they make
Other
those
people
kits.
do it, yeah.
General Motors, it would be super simple for them to make the body panels, and then they could make a dash for it too. Super simple. All they do is change the dash, the seat covers, front and rear end, and because it's always been a Camaro.
Right.
Or the Camaro's always been a Firebird.
Mm-hmm.
They're the same. They started at the same time, that F body. So why not, if you're going to do it, and make it a performance car on the same performance? If the Camaros are only a V6 at that point, that's what you do.
Right.
But if they're V8s like they are now, you 6.2 supercharged, you do it. Because that's their easiest way, money-wise. Don't come back with a 6-cylinder GTO
crossover.
Or something. And you could even make a GTO or a Le Mans if you want, but build it on that Camaro platform. Do something that, go out with a bang this time instead of the last Grand Am to be produced went out today.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Oklahoma and talk to Jeffrey. You're on the Under the Hood Show, Jeffrey. What can we do for you?
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm
That's
trying to get an idea on my 2016 GMC. It's a 6-liter gas, and I've had it in the shop multiple times for O2 sensor problems, and they'll replace them, and they won't. It'll last about 3 or 4 months. Well, the first one I got it done, and it didn't work but for about a week. And then I took it to my normal mechanic, and he said, well, it's supposed to be relearned after they put the new O2 sensor in. If you're following me at all.
Yeah.
And so now I've got a miss on one cylinder all the time, constantly. And that's what it does every time this O2 sensor goes out. But I think there's something else causing it. And I can't figure. I'm still driving. It's only got 70,000 miles on it.
Jeffrey, hang tight right where you are. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll delve into this a little bit. 866-594-4150. When we come back, we'll talk to Jeffrey, and we'll take your calls on the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. All right, Russ, Jeffrey's on the line with his 2500. Give me a recap of what he's looking at.
So he's been replacing oxygen sensors, multiple sensors, and it would misfire before, and now it's misfiring after. So he's had these sensors over and over. So I think, like the way along the lines he's thinking. So I think you do have a different problem that's causing the sensor to fail, because these sensors just don't fail very often at all. And a repeat failure is like something we just don't see unless something's causing it, like a coolant leak on one cylinder, and then it gets down into the oxygen sensor, destroys the sensor, causes a failure. That can happen. An oxygen sensor by itself will not cause a miss, if it's shorted or not, unless it's making the whole side miss or the whole engine because it's running super lean or super rich. If the sensor says we're way rich, computer will take away all the fuel, cause it to miss or be sluggish and run poor, even stall maybe. Or if it's lean, it'll dump too much fuel in there. But it doesn't affect one cylinder. It affects all the cylinders on that side it's on. And sometimes it can affect the other side too, by the way of how the fuel mixture is going through it. But I think you've got something else going on. And we have seen on these 6-liter engines some head gasket issues and some cracked head issues where you'll get some coolant down in that cylinder. One thing you could try, if it's so small that you put a sensor in it and it works for a while, is using K-Seal. And our partner at K-Seal has the pour-in solution where it's a permanent repair. If it's a very small leak like that, it works extremely well. And you just basically put the whole bottle in the radiator to top it off, make sure the coolant's full, and then you drive it. You drive that thing 50 to 100 miles, and it should seal up whatever that is. So if you do that and stop that leak and then replace the sensor, you should be good. I would do a compression and a leak down test on that engine all the way around to see what the condition of the cylinders is like. Make sure you don't have a valve that's hanging open. We've seen some burnt valves on those engines, and that could also cause some issues. Or if you've got a cylinder that's bad and you're getting a lot of oil down there. Does it burn oil that you know of? Do you have to put oil in it?
It does not. No, I've never had to put oil in it.
That's good for the bottom end then.
Yeah, it doesn't leak. This last time that I had it read, it told me I had a certain cylinder that it was the one that's obviously been misfiring, but it said the coil and the spark plug were bad. So, of course, I replaced the coil and spark plug, and that's not the issue.
Yeah.
But that's the only that came up at that time.
Coil, spark plug, and injector, they'll all affect that. So I'd say if we were going to try to do a thorough diagnosis on this, I would probably do a leak down test and a compression test on at least that. So let's say it was a P306 for cylinder 6. I would check that cylinder, number 6, and I would check one somewhere else, like cylinder number 1, because that's easy to get to right in the front on the driver's side, and compare those. And if they're exactly the same, I wouldn't worry about the other cylinders. I just know that the engine's in good shape mechanically. Then I would probably, if I've already done a coil and spark plug, I would probably pop that injector rail off, which is fairly easy on that engine. And I would pull the injector out and I would move it like to number 1 and then put number 1 and number 6 and see if the problem moves somewhere else. If it does, if now it's number 1 that's missing, get a new injector for it. It's possible that that injector has got some trash in it, it's dirty, and it's not firing correctly. It's clogged up, or it's overfeeding it. It's dumping too much fuel in there. I just worked on a Camaro a couple days ago, an older one with a V6, and it ran horrible. You'd think the engine was in bad shape, and it's a 1988, so of course it could have some issues. I did a compression and leak down test on that car. It was perfect. The compression was strong. The leak down was like 3%. It was really low. I said, this is a beautiful motor in the bottom end. Timing chain's tight. Checked it out. It's the injectors. Put a brand new set of injectors in it. that thing ran like a dream, nice and smooth, like brand new again. So it can be something as simple as a little dirt and injector.
Jeffrey, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Now, casually, like I've been listening to the Under the Hood show for almost 20 years.
Longer than that, you called us.
But only casually. I don't
Yeah.
pay that close attention. And is this a fair statement that when people get oxygen sensor codes, everybody, or it's often people just think I'm going to just put in a new
That's exactly
sensor
what it is.
because
Of a code.
because it's cheap.
Yep.
And that's why we do that. And that's fine, because sometimes that is the problem. But if that happens again, it's actually doing its job as an oxygen sensor, and there's a problem usually, right? I mean, if I replace it once and it stays off, great. If I replace it and it happens again, it's not the oxygen sensor. There's something causing that problem.
Right. And the relearn for an oxygen sensor, you put the new sensor in and you clear the code. That's it. There's no relearn. Now, the car will adjust as you drive it and fine tune as you go, but there's nothing more to an oxygen sensor replacement than to push the button that says clear codes, and then you let it go. So that's simple.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to TJ. You're on the Under the Hood show. TJ, what can we do for you?
Well, I've got a 2020 BMW X6, and we got the car in March. And one of the things that I didn't do, and I should have done when we test drove the car and checked it out, was it was March, so it was cold, so I didn't run the AC and didn't think anything of it. So the next month, we took a road trip down to Nashville, and on the way back, the temperature was a decent amount warmer, so we ran the AC, and we noticed that we weren't it wasn't getting AC cold, and so we took it. We got back to Sioux Falls. We took it back to the dealer. It's a CPO, so it's only got 15,000 miles on it now. So not many miles. But so we took it to the dealership. They charged the AC, and now when we run the AC, when we run the, if we run the climate control at between anywhere above 70, you don't notice it. But when you run it down lower than that, where the AC actually kicks on and works, it's just a foul, musty smell that we're getting out of the AC unit, out of the vent.
That's just BMW. They stink when they get old.
It's not that old, and it doesn't have that many miles.
That car stinks to work on. Well, that's why. Its air conditioner smells like gym socks, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not good at all.
Yep. Well, make sure that nobody played a dirty trick and stuck some dirty gym socks in there. We have seen. You think that's funny, Chris, but we have seen some bad things. So I got a friend down in Texas, and they work on a lot of cars for a used car lot that does a lot of repos. It's a buy here, pay here lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had a couple cars, at least two now, that have come in. Somebody did pull the cabin air filter out and crammed a dead fish in there. One, it was getting repoed. One put a skunk under the front seat, and one stuffed a possum in the glove box. Yeah, so when cars get repoed in some of those
TJ,
areas.
quick visual inspection.
Yeah, but no, I don't think you have any of that. Hopefully the dealer would have caught it, unless they just don't like you.
It's
oh, you've been talking bad about us?
Winter.
Yeah, it's frozen. You don't notice until summer. But so there's a product to help with this. What's happening is that the air conditioning evaporator is supposed to be coated from the factory with an antimicrobial, but sometimes it doesn't get applied real well and it will start to smell. So what you do is you use a air conditioning cleaning product. They make evaporator cleaning products. Our partners at Justice Brothers use a mist system, but they actually go into the store. You're going to find tons of air conditioning products. You put the air conditioner on maximum so it's recirculating inside. Spray this stuff in, it sucks it into the air conditioner, and it cleans the coils and coats it with an antimicrobial, so it gets rid of your smell and a new cabin air filter.
If you go to the store to get AC Pro, because you can't find yours, you can look under your sink. I don't know why mine was under the sink. There's like half a can left under my sink.
Oh, of your cleaner?
Yeah. TJ, thanks very much for the call. Is there anything else that TJ could be facing in this?
No, when you get a smell in an air conditioning system, it's it's caused by mold. If it's a moldy smell, it is
Yeah.
caused by mildew in there. If you get a different kind of smell, it could be an air conditioning evaporator leak. With that low of miles, I could see that happened. Producer Doug had one leaking on his car. It's a very distinctive smell, that refrigerant. So it could be a leak. So if cleaning it doesn't fix it and it stops cooling again, you got an evaporator leak that needs to be fixed.
TJ, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Bryn Adams, congratulations from all of us here at Under the Hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. And, of course, our friends over at Berkeley One Classics celebrating 50 years. Check out Berkeley One Classics, and you can get a free quote online. Save a ton of money on your classic and collector vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Let's jump back. Before the break there, we were talking about a BMW with an odor on the...
Stinky air conditioner.
Yeah.
But it only had 15,000 miles. It's 4 years old or so, and it already quit, which is very unpopular for a car like this. It's not something that you normally see.
Right.
And it only smells when the air conditioner is on, like really cold. Higher temps, it doesn't do it, but the lower it kicks in and you smell it.
So we were talking about cleaning the system with a disinfectant. That will help, but that might not be the problem. Right.
I'm more concerned that since it only does it at those really low temperatures, that instead of mold, maybe you're smelling refrigerant, and that's why it's already empty this early in its life.
Yeah.
And when the compressor's on, you're smelling just a tiny little bit because it doesn't take much of that refrigerant to give it a smell.
So that is something TJ is going to want to make sure.
Yeah, well, I'd say if it fails again within the next 30 to 60 days, the dash is going to have to come out and they're going to have to put an evaporator in it, at which point they will make sure it's clean, but that will be the smell that you're smelling is refrigerant, not mildew.
Let's talk to Doug. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Doug, what can we do for you?
Morning, guys. Hey, I've got a 2016 Q5. It's my wife's vehicle, and there's some grinding coming from the front end, and so I bought pads for it, and I pulled off the front wheel on the driver's side, and that Audi on that side actually has an electronic wear indicator, and nothing was coming up on the dash, and the pads looked good. They were a quarter left, and then I pulled off the passenger side, and the inside pad was completely gone. It was metal onto the rotor, and I'm just wondering if, so I replaced all the pads. Is there something more I should be looking for if that's the case, if just one pad was completely gone on it? Okay.
For sure, either the caliper piston is stuck or the caliper slide is stuck. More than likely, it's the bracket that holds the caliper. The whole thing's stuck. So what happens is it can't pull the outside pad against the rotor to wear it, and it's only pushing on the inside, and it's sticking. Typically, if the piston sticks out, it's going to pull the whole thing in if the slides move, but you could have both the piston stuck and the caliper slides. But likely at that age of the car, it's probably the slides that have stuck. They're frozen, so it doesn't move. So anytime you do pads on a vehicle, you've got to make sure that the slides, which are what the caliper bolts to, slide in and out the whole way without any resistance on them. They should just move easily back and forth by hand. If they don't, you either need to take them out, clean them up, put a boot kit on them, re-grease them, or you need to replace that whole caliper, and it comes with the bracket and everything when you buy those. That's the best way to do it.
Okay. And we had just had tires put on that like 2 weeks before that, and that wouldn't correlate to anything that...
There's nothing, nothing at all that could be done to do that. Now, they could have at least looked at the brakes to see if they're wearing, but the brakes may not have been worn at that point. If the caliper decided to stick 5 minutes after they put the tires on, that's when it would have started wearing and wearing quickly. They may not have seen it. We'll put tires on cars and do front end work sometimes, and I'll take a peek at the brake and I'll say, hey, did you know that I'm telling you now, want to let you know that your right front pad, the inside pad is 3/4 of the way gone. You've only got a 1/16 of an inch left, but the outside pad is good, and the rest of your brakes look fine, which tells me you need to replace that caliper and do a front brake job. Okay. And then they they'll say, well, I'm not going to do it today. I can't afford it or don't have time. But then when they come back in a week or a month and say it's grinding, hey, I probably should have got it done, and they have no problem. They just do it. But if I don't tell them, and I was staring right at it, they say, how come you didn't tell me? I had time. They always had time to do it then, and the money, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I could have done it right then and not had to make a trip back to do it. So you try to catch those things as mechanics, but not always do they get caught, especially at a place that's moving stuff quickly like a tire store.
Sure.
Does
that help you out there, Doug?
All right. Yeah, I appreciate it. Love the show, guys. Thanks.
Thanks very much. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Kansas and talk to Joey. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Joey, what can we do for you?
How's it going? So I have a 94 F350 with a 460 in it. Got the E4OD. And about 2 years ago, well, it's got like 275,000 miles on it. It's been in my possession since it was bought brand new from my parents. And when I got it, the speedometer started acting crazy and erratically shifting in and out of gear, dropping in the neutral, dropping back into highway gear, doing a bunch of crazy stuff. And so first thing I had done is the transmission rebuilt by a local repair shop. And I said I wanted all electrical, all solenoids, everything replaced, make it right. So I did, got it back, and the speedometer would start jumping again from 30 miles an hour and up. And once it started jumping, it started shifting erratically. So I did some more research. I took the dash out and had the dash sent off to a place in Missouri to have it rebuilt. And they said, there's a couple of diodes loose and unsoldered. So I got it back, installed it again, and took off driving. And now the speedometer will run smooth up to about 50 miles an hour and start jumping again and start shifting erratically. And from that point, I've just kind of put it down, and it drives, it drives fine up to 50 miles an hour, but then it starts doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
You haven't replaced the speed sensor on the rear end housing yet, have you?
I have.
You have.
Actually.
Good.
Yeah.
Make sure it's a Ford unit. We've had some aftermarkets of things. Replace that, and then start looking for wiring problems. Follow that thing, the connector right at that sensor back there. You may want to just buy a connector. They're available still. Cut yours off. You solder the new one on. Plug that on so you've got that fixed. And then follow those wires up that driver's side frame rail through the harness and look at every inch of it and see if there's any spots that are worn through on a plastic clip, are eaten away by road salt and grime, rubbing on a bolt or a rusty part of the frame or a sharp part of the frame. Follow it all the way to the front. We find lots of bad speed sensors, number one. Number two, we find a bad connector right at the sensor. But number three, the third most often thing we find is right about where your driver's feet are by the brake pedal, as that wiring harness makes the curve to go up towards the dash, right at the front part of the frame. We'll find that inside of that harness, we take the electrical tape basically off the outside, that wrap off the harness. As we look at the colors of the speed sensor wires, which are twisted together in a pair, they're broken right there and they're rusting. And if that is broken, it's not making a good connection. And as it vibrates going down the road and it gets more signal to it, it loses continuity and the gauges go off. It's definitely sounds like you have a speed signal issue. If you were to put a meter at the back of the speedometer on the two wires that run that, you would see that it's not smooth. It would go up and it would start bouncing just like your speedometer. If it does that, you will also lose the signal to the engine computer and the transmission, and it won't shift right. Anytime we get a transmission not shifting right and a speedometer not working right, it's a signal issue going to it, which is great because we know where to look. So at least you can feel good that you've probably got a good transmission. That's not the issue. It's a signal issue, and it's probably going to be a cheap fix, but it's going to take time to find it because you're going to have to trace that thing a little bit at a time. You can do a quick scan first and see if something jumps right out at you and fix that and see what happens. But if you don't, it's going to be a slow look until you find it.
Sure. So So you think, even though that every time I replace something new, or like I said, the transmission and the dash, and it works better each and each time, you still would think that somewhere it's losing connection.
Oh,
And
yeah, for sure.
I've also done I've
So-
also done research that the speed sensor is on the same schematic as like the ABS and a whole bunch of other things that could be causing a problem as well.
You can have something shorted, but when you're repairing things, if you've got a weak part in the system, any weak part it could still operate fine as long as it's got a good signal. But if you make it a little better, it takes a little less signal to work, and it may help out a little bit. And it may just be coincidence as you mess around with something. But I really think you've probably got a wire issue on it, as many as we see.
Okay.
Does that help you out there, Joey?
All right. That really does. I appreciate you having me on, and I really enjoy the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much for the call too. That's not ideal, because now it could be a problem of him just not looking in the right spot, which is not
that's possible.
Yeah, it's not super fun for him.
Yeah. Including our own vehicles, we have, we've put in hundreds of those rear end sensors over the years, and we've also fixed hundreds of wire breaks in those, and they could occur anywhere. In some cases, if we want to fix it, if we're going to put a new pigtail on the rear end anyways, and I've got a question about it, I will get out 2 pieces of wire that are the same gauge. I'll put one end in the vise, and I'll hook my electric drill to the other end, and I'll turn it on, and I'll make a twisted wire out of it, so I get about 1 twist per ½ inch, and then I will make the connection at the rear end. I'll run the wire down the frame rail up to the front. I'll make the connection as close to the dash as I can, and if the problem goes away, I know it's in the wiring.
Right.
And I may just say, you know what, I'm going to put some covering on this, and I'm going to run it down the frame rail and leave it permanently because it's 30 years old. Let's just eliminate the issues.
Let's go to Kentucky and talk to Charles. Charles, you're on the End of the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
I've got a 2010 Buick Lucerne. It's a CXL Special Edition. It won't start. You can shoot a little starting fluid in the carburetor part, whatever you call that, and it starts. I put a new fuel pump on it, a new relay, and the fuse box. I know we had a lot of trouble with them. It looked good. It wasn't burnt, and I didn't know where to go to. I didn't know if y'all had any ideas on this or not.
Yeah, if you've got a crank no start, we got to find out what we're missing. It sounds like you have spark, because it does fire when you spray something in the throttle body there. But we either have no injector pulse, or we've got a shorted injector causing it to not fire. And if we're diagnosing this in our shop, I'm going to look at the scanner, see if there's any codes, and address those first. I mean, it could have the throttle position sensor may be stuck on the high position. If it is, it's going to turn off the fuel injectors as a clear flood mode, like with an old choke. You hold it to the floor and it fires right up with the carburetor, because it could be trying to flood itself. So we'd look at that, and then we would we've got a light we plug into the injector where the injector plugs in, and it would blink if it's working. If it's not, then we've got to do a little diagnosis. Is the computer failed? Is that not sending out a signal to turn that injector on and fire it? That's the way we do it. But the good news is that when you spray something in there, it does fire up, which tells me that it's the engine itself is good, and the bottom end is good. It's got compression, it's firing, the timing's working because it actually runs when you spray that in there, and runs well until it dies because it's lost fuel. If you put a fuel pump in it and it doesn't work, is the fuel pump running? Do we have any fuel pressure? Maybe you've got a new pump, but it's not turning on. Can you hear the pump turn on when you turn the key on? Does it run for a couple seconds?
No.
Okay, that's
no. I'm not.
There's a problem. You have to, when you turn that key on, you should hear it bzz, it should buzz for a couple seconds. So we start back at the pump. We check for power and ground at the pump. If we don't have any, then we need to go up. Now, maybe the fuel pump was bad and it blew the fuse, and now you've put a new pump in, but you need a fuel pump fuse. So check that. That'll be in that, let me see, that Lucerne. That should be in the box under the hood. Some of them had a box inside as well under the glove box, but I believe that one's under the hood. But check that fuel pump fuse. first, so you make sure you get power and ground, but the computer also controls that. But typically it's common that we'll see a pump that goes bad, blows the fuse or burns a wire back there, and then even though it's a new pump, it's still not going to run.
Charles, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. Got a few minutes left. We got no Shannon. We got time for your calls because we got a few open lines. 866-594-4150.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Here's a question that came in on the chat. Holden wants to know, I've got a 2016 Prius C with 140,000 miles on it. Looking to do some engine maintenance to ensure I get as many miles as I can out of it. No major maintenance done yet. What's your recommendation for DIYer? DIYer. Yes, DIYer.
DIYer. Yeah, I would definitely do the drain and fill on that transmission. Get that fluid changed now. Change the engine coolant. Drain it and fill it. Spark plugs and coil boots. Ignition coil boots. Do those now. Those are things that fail a lot on those cars. All three of those things can lead to issues. You could lead to a head gasket issue by not changing the coolant. And I'm talking about the engine coolant, not the hybrid drive coolant. I just leave that alone. I haven't really had any problem with that. And it's not really collecting metals like the engine does with the heat change and all that. But definitely do that maintenance there on the coolant. And then the transmission, you want to drain and fill it just to keep it in as best. It's CVT, constantly varying transmission. You want to do the maintenance to keep that up. But those are the main things, and then just give it a general look over. Make sure everything seems like it's in good shape. Check the brakes. Make sure you don't have anything wearing out there. Those cars are really good. They've built them so long with basically the same design that they've got a lot of the bugs pretty much worked out. They don't fail very often.
Brakes on a hybrid can be...
They last a long time.
Yeah, they can be weird. Like mine wore out from age because they, not use, but they were just unused basically, right? On the is it the
they
rear?
Rusted. They got very rusty and they had to be replaced because they don't use... The brakes aren't not used as often because with the way you drive.
And not even had to be replaced as much as we should do.
They were making noise, and I was like, these are starting to stick, and the calipers are frozen up.
But we put them off for another 5,000 miles.
Oh,
The first time, you're like, hey, these need to be changed. Not yet, but they don't get used. So that can be just a tricky thing with...
On a hybrid car, anything with an electric assist or anything full on the drivetrain, when you let your foot off the accelerator, the car regenerates that hybrid battery by using the electric motor to slow the car down instead of using the service brake with the hydraulics stepping on the pedal to slow it down. So it's running an electric motor, and by it generating electricity through those magnets, it's going to slow the car down. You can actually put the lever over and put it down into the battery recharge modes, the braking battery, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to slow the car down by use of that generator in there, which is great because then you don't wear off the brake pads.
I do that all the time,
and they last long. And then you can watch it, recharge on the hybrid, and that's a great.
Now I can.
That's a great thing with your, when you've got a hybrid with a gas engine, because then you've got plenty of fuel. I saw a great thing the other day. There was a picture of a guy filling his car with gas, and he says fastest reach. The caption was fastest recharge ever of a car. I'm like, oh, interesting. And it says I'm recharging my car in less than 1 minute. Watch me do it. And he's standing at the gas pump, filling his car. I'm like, yeah, baby, fill her up.
When I first got the Prius, I waited a long time to use the manual, to switch it into engine brake
things
because in my town, it says there's signs that say no dynamic braking in city limits. So I was like, hey, I can't use it. No, that's not true. I was afraid of that, that when I first got it, I was not clear or not too confident in selecting manual engine brake. And now I use it all the time. It's such it really is a handy tool to just because it slows it down, and it almost has one pedal driving in that mode. If I leave it in braking mode, it's very close to one pedal driving.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. So when I read about one pedal driving, I kind of feel like I can imagine what that would be like, even though a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, and you've got to be real. If the people that have those old Toyotas that try to get the best mileage out of them, you've got to know when to use that and when not, because if you slow the car down too quick, you need to step on the gas again to get it moving or keep it moving, which uses fuel. So if you're coming down a really long, steep grade and you want to get the battery recharged in a hybrid, you kick into that mode. If you can still maintain your speed, it's great. By the bottom of the hill, you might be fully charged. And then you don't have to worry about it. You save fuel. But if you pull it down too far, you got to go. You can imagine if you started at the top of Pikes Peak and you use that the whole way down. Can you imagine? You go road trip. Chris, you got to let us know how that works. You probably be overcharged by the time you hit the bottom.
I've used it in mountains, but not enough where it's become an issue. I do love that is my first experience years ago with setting the cruise control, and it will dynamic brake on its own in that
to
case.
Slow it down.
Yeah, it handles it all itself. That was pretty. It holds your speed and slows you down when you need to. That was pretty great.
The big diesels have gotten a lot better now with engine braking, because like in older ones like mine, if your cruise is set at 75 and you're coming down a long hill, you might be doing 85 or 90, because especially with a trailer, because you're rolling.
Yeah.
There's no slowing down. But the new ones, they've got engine braking built in, so they'll cut the fuel and then they'll start slowing the engine down, so you can slow the whole rig down without using your brakes, or use the exhaust brake, which is, Jake brake is built right into the dash and it's muffled so it doesn't make noise. So you can use those cities with the noise limit.
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Until next time, you can find us at underthehoodshow.com. Thanks for listening to the Under the Hood Show. For Russ Evans, I'm Chris Carter. Have a great day. All right, it is the after show. This is the after show. Not much of an after show today. We got stuff we need to get done, so
yeah.
Shannon's
got
not
a barbecue.
here.
Got a brisket to barbecue.
Yeah, we got to go get that brisket on. I want to make a brisket, so I have a recipe all set for it. I found this recipe I gotta go. I gotta make a brisket. I've never done it. I think what's the longest thing I've ever used on my smoker? I don't use it very much. Mostly I make beef jerky on it, which is fantastic. Making your own beef jerky on the smoker, the electric. I have a pellet smoker.
Yeah.
It's the greatest. Trying to think of what else I don't do a lot on there, because now it's just me and my wife. So really I don't make a ton of food, but that thing, oof.
I like cooking it as much as I like eating it. I like eating it too much. That's the problem. But it's a lot of fun. Fire that baby up and just run it for hours with the smoke going.
I have a friend who's a big green egg guy.
Oh yeah.
And I told him about my Traeger. We were talking about the Traeger, and he said he doesn't like the idea of a Traeger because he likes to be hands on. He likes to feel like he's doing something.
Yeah.
You know, he wants to check the temp and make sure the smoke's going good.
Put the wood in and take the wood away.
Not me, man.
Spread the coils.
That thing, that Traeger, you turn that thing on and 12 hours later, it's done.
Yeah, I mean, I got you there, but if you've got the time, nothing beats kicking back on the patio with some good friends. You're hanging out for 8 to 12 hours, and you're watching the wood, you're throwing the wood in, you're spreading the coals around, and you're just having a good time, you know.
When you crack that thing, when you crack a smoker at the end and it's time to take whatever it is off, that is the best moment it's no matter how good what you made is, it is not as good as that feeling.
My perfect spot in life is in a wooded area with a lake and a dock and a smoker and a fireplace and a cabin with real logs that smell and the sounds and just right. That is my perfect.
You got to go to Ghost Lake Lodge
place
in Wisconsin.
Never been there, never heard of it that I can think of. But there's been. I had a favorite spot down in Texas that was we're up on the hill just enough where I'm looking down at the dock on the lake. I can still picture it right now, looking down at the dock on the lake, boathouse, smoker going, was 2 barrels welded together with the smoke in the bottom and the heat. Oh, and it was great. and I can still picture, I go back and think of a few of those friends are gone now, but I think back and boy, that was some good time right there, man. I would empty out my entire savings if I could go back for one day with that again. You can't go back though. So
we were talking about thermometers and wireless.
No, yeah,
and laser
pointers.
I got a laser pointer a while ago and use it just
for pointing
for fun. Yeah, I finally had a reason to use it for real this year, just about a week ago. And I was really happy with myself that I had a reason to use it. On my patio, I have a covered patio, gazebo, and I have a fire table, and none of that's weird. But I also have the part that makes it mine is I have a complete sound system built into my gazebo now. And I take it out for winter, but I mean, installing it and it's all patched through. It's perfect, but it's up in the ceiling. So I wanted to make sure that the fire table, it's up, so I had to check the temperature to make sure that the fire table wasn't making it too hot for the sound system. And it's fine. It's right at the peak at the hottest part. It's like 150. So I think I'm okay. I might move it a little to try and get the heat around to move a little away from the sound system. But I made the switch. I made the outdoor move to the gazebo for summer, where I've now spent more time out there than in my house when I'm awake. And that is just about you're on there. If I get that smoker going over there, it would be just like the perfect day. I got to do that. I got to get that thing going, and so just so I can look at it and check the temperature on my new wireless thermometer that I'm going to buy today to be able to do that. And I'm going to tell my wife it's for the car. Your car's an 08. We need this thing just in case. That's what
just
I'm
don't
do.
tell her.
Yeah, I could do that too. We have separate accounts now. Our shopping accounts are separate. They go to the same place, but for gifts, she said, I think I might want to separate out because if I'm going to buy gifts, I should have my own account. And I was like, heck yeah, that's a great idea, honey. We should have separate accounts. And that package, don't worry about that. It's not drum parts. It's a gift for you.
There you
for
go.
Our anniversary. I didn't order a bunch of things from Ludwig.
What's Ludwig?
Yeah, I constantly am getting music stuff, and she's like, "Is that a gift for me?" I'm like,
Beethoven.
"Yes."
Yeah.
Next Christmas is gonna be good for you, honey. I'm going downstairs now.
Evans drums. Yeah, I bought something from Russ.
Yeah, it's Russ
from Evans. Yeah, that's
his cousin.
Yeah.
All right, what else is that?
That's it.
That's really kind of it.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that'll do it for the after show. Thanks everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Shannon will be gone next week again, right?
Yeah.
So we'll have room for those calls.
He's in
again.
Spain.
He's in Spain. Okay.
Yeah. I said you go over there. It's Espanola. It's not Spain. They're gonna look at you like you're American. He looks pretty
That'll
American.
work. Yeah. He sure does. All right, there we go. That'll do it for the after show. Thanks everybody.